Hi there, Pisces, and welcome to your December 2024 horoscope. Yes, 2025 is just around the corner, and if you would like extra support for the year ahead, then I wanted to let you know that my books are open. I've opened up 5 spots for the year ahead readings. They are at a discounted price, so make sure you check them out down in the description box and in the comments. We start off the month on December 1st with a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius. This is your 10th house of career, so you might be starting a new adventure and a new chapter there. If you want to learn more about this new moon, then make sure you check out the dedicated new moon in Sagittarius video that I posted not too long ago. A couple of days later, on December 4th, we have the Sun squaring Saturn. The Sun is in your 10th house, Saturn is in your 1st house. So you might find that things in your career are feeling a bit blocked. I know that just two days ago you started a new chapter, you started a new adventure, was feeling inspired. But it seems like as the month progresses, there's some sort of a blocker there that stops you from carrying out those ideas and making them a reality. Do be very patient with yourself and keep in mind that this transit is quite fast. The Sun moves quite quickly, so before you know it, this restriction should be out of the way. Then on December 6th, we have Mars going retrograde. Mars is going retrograde in your 6th house in the sign of Leo. But keep in mind that as it moves backwards, it will eventually also enter the sign of Cancer or your 5th house. So the themes of both of these houses will be prevalent for you during this Mars retrograde. So up until February 2025, you will most likely feel quite frustrated when it comes to your health and your day-to-day routine. You will feel like you want to start something there, take some new action, some new steps, but you can't because of one reason or another. They have to be stopped or abandoned. And the same could be happening with any fun plans that you have in place, any parties or friends that you were planning to hang out with. We see that there might be some of that stop and go action in that area of your life as well. Again, please do be very patient with yourself and keep in mind that this is just for a season. In February, once Mars goes direct, we can hopefully all get on with doing things and them actually going somewhere. The next day, on December 7th, Venus enters the sign of Aquarius and it conjuncts Pluto. On that same day, the Sun opposes Jupiter. Because both of the good planets are in challenging positions on this day, by good I mean Venus and Jupiter, this day might feel quite challenging. And especially for you, because that opposition with the Sun and Jupiter is in your angular houses, you might feel this one, Pisces. One way that this could manifest is that you've been focusing quite a lot on your internal world, your internal emotions, what's happening inside. But on this day, it might feel like that's maybe not going so well. It's not getting you anywhere. Things are just not jiving or making sense. And as a result, you might start to zoom out and think a lot more philosophically, asking more deeper questions, perhaps facing any fears that you have around your internal world. Are there parts inside of you that you are scared to look at? Maybe even taking a look at how time alone could help you with understanding yourself better, or maybe how incorporating more spiritual practices could help you unravel what's going inside. The next day, we have Neptune going direct in your 1st house and in your sign of Pisces. This should hopefully help you out a bit, Pisces. Honestly, when Neptune was retrograde, you might have seen your own identity in a much more realistic way, but also in a much more harsh way. You might have been not as loving, not as accepting of who you are. But now that Neptune is direct, you might feel that you're much more compassionate, much more loving, and just in general, feeling like a little bit more in sync with your identity. A couple of days later, on December 12th, we have Venus opposing Mars. For you Pisces, this is taking place in your 12th and 6th house, and you might be feeling a strong tension between two parts of yourself. The part of you that just wants to throw almost like a childlike tantrum that says, well, I don't care about my internal world and what I'm feeling or thinking. I just want to be here right now and focus on my body and focus on my health. And that's what I want to do. I don't want to care about the rest. And then there's this other part of you that knows that it's actually really important to be doing the inner work and to be reflecting and working on ourselves. These two might be especially at odds with each other on this day. Finally, we reach the midpoint of the month on December 15th. And on this day, we have a full moon in the sign of Gemini. This full moon is taking place in your 4th house. So we are seeing some manifestations from your hard work on your internal world. If you have been doing the hard work, if you have been taking aligned actions there, you will see positive manifestations. Or if you maybe haven't, if you've been ignoring that side of you, or doing practices that maybe don't resonate with you, but others recommend, you will also see the consequences of that. Don't forget that I post full and new moon horoscopes closer to the actual date. It's full-on dedicated video. We go through all of the rising signs. So if you want to make sure you catch that one for this full moon in Gemini, then make sure you subscribe. Later on in the month, on December 20th to be exact, we have Venus trining Jupiter. This should be a beautiful, harmonious day, so that should be a nice break from all of the more challenging aspects. And again, we're talking about your 4th and 12th house. So we are seeing some positive benefits when it comes to your spiritual practices. They're probably nourishing you emotionally. They feel quite satisfying and supportive of yourself. And you'll probably find on this day that you're able to handle a lot more because you have that strong foundation for yourself. The next day, on December 21st, we have the sun entering the sign of Capricorn, or your 11th house. From the 21st onwards, if you want to feel rejuvenated and excited to get out of bed, then you need to start dreaming about the future. You need to start thinking about where you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years and maybe even taking some actions towards it. We're almost there, just 3 more transits to get through in the month of December. One of them is the square between Jupiter and Saturn, happening on December 24th. We have had this square a couple of times before when the planets were moving direct. Now when they're moving retrograde, we see this square coming up again. Because they're highlighting your 1st and 4th house, we see this sort of tension between your identity, how you actually show up in the world, versus what's happening on the inside. You might feel like when you're showing up to the rest of the world, you can act as a very strong individual, an individual that perhaps has everything in order, whereas on the inside, it might feel differently. And then, of course, it could be vice versa. It could be that to the world, you present as somebody that's quite chaotic and is just figuring things out. But internally, you feel as if things are slowly coming together and you feel quite aligned and quite in tune with who you are. Then on December 28th, we have a square between Venus and Uranus. With Uranus in your third house, the last couple of years, you might have been establishing your own little unique local community, maybe getting in touch and establishing a unique relationship with your neighbors. And on this day, you might find that that's somehow challenging your spiritual practice. Perhaps your neighbors or your siblings are judgmental of your spiritual practice, or you might find that they're just asking a lot of time from you that pulls away from your spiritual practice, and therefore you're falling behind on that routine. And finally, we close off the month on December 30th with a new moon in the sign of Capricorn. This new moon is happening in your 11th house. So you see yourself starting a new chapter when it comes to your future plans. Perhaps on this day, you realize that there's actually something different about your future that you never knew you actually wanted. You thought you knew what your next 5 years are going to look like, but now you realize maybe you want them to look differently. So it should be an exciting new start to a fresh year ahead. So overall, Pisces, I hope you are excited for the month ahead. This is going to be a very important month for you, for your internal world, taking care of yourself, what you believe in, what's going on inside, working through sometimes maybe the heavy things. Some other things that we mentioned, you're also thinking a lot about your future goals during this month and your own identity, how to set boundaries and establish yourself as your own individual. Thanks for joining me, Pisces. I hope this horoscope helps give you some insight for the month ahead. And don't forget that my books are open for the 2025 yearly readings. You can find the link down in the description box and also in the comments. Thanks, Pisces, and I hope to see you again soon.